Hey world, this is Justin, and you are tuned to Anywhere the Needle Drops. It is the last episode of 2025. Oh boy, how did we get here? This is it. We're calling it a year right here with this episode. We're going to take a little holiday break, a little hiatus. We're going to take some time. We're going to rest. We're going to hang out with friends and family and do some fun things. And we're not going to do any or think about any work whatsoever. And it's going to be wonderful. And I can't wait. And looking back on this year, oh boy, it has been earned. That is for sure. We've definitely earned some rest. So we'll be back. The return date as currently scheduled will be January 15th of 2026. That's when you'll get some new Anywhere the Needle Drops in your feed. And we already know what that episode is going to be. It's going to be a great live session with Justin Wells as he returns to the show for the fourth time. Yeah, he was in town a bit ago for a local show at Stockroom East in South Bend, and he stuck around the next day so he'd come into the studio and do a live session with us. And so that's what you're looking forward to on January 15th when the show returns. But for now, we're gonna do a little recap of the year. Paul turns the tables on me. Old PK there sat me down at Theory One Studio, and he asked me all about this year in the world of Red Chuck and Anywhere the Needle Drops and all the things we've been doing and working on. We discovered throughout this year some unintentional themes, I guess, the season, if you want to call it that, really digging into ideas of mental health and struggles in culture and politics and the music industry and how they all kind of weave together and how all of the people that we had on the show were answering to them in one way or the other. And it really was phenomenal having that realization, looking back on the year, not having any of that intended, but sort of finding that naturally both in what we were doing, the ideas Paul and I were putting out there, and just what the artists were bringing to us in the show, in their arts, in the conversations we had with them. There's really something that we struck on this year, and it was kind of magical. So yeah, Paul's going to sit with me. He's going to ask me a bunch of questions. We're going to talk about this year with the show, and we're going to send you off to the holidays. It's that season, right? So hopefully doing fun, good things with your friends and your family. I know this time of year can be hard for some people. I know some people don't have the same family dynamics as others, and hopefully you have created some found family for yourself. I'm a big believer in found family. So hopefully you're out there, taking care of yourself, taking care of some other people, and just doing good things in the world. And here we go. This is Anywhere the Needle Drops, the end of year episode, the final episode of 2025. Take care of yourself, folks. We will see you next year. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Do good things. Be kind to each other. Here's to life.
Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Great.
Let's
Justin
do it.
Flegel, Anywhere the Needle Drops, 2025.
Yeah.
Justin Flegel, Anywhere the Needle Drops, 2025, end of year wrap up. Obviously, I always love sitting down to talk to you anytime we can. I know we're super busy and we're taking on a mountain of things, but now's the time.
Yeah, for sure.
As we've discovered.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we get to sit and talk about music, the people making it, local, regional, national. I mean, this is a goosebump year for myself personally, but also I've seen you rise, climb, take on all the challenges and just soar, which is fun to be a part of, but also fun that you're winning at this, which is great.
Yeah.
When you do look back at this year, what was the first moment or memory that jumps out as the defining Anywhere the Needle Drops moment this year?
Oh, wow. A defining moment. It seems that's a tough question to answer because it seems like there are several equally defining moments. The live sessions were their own entire thing, the kind of thing I've always dreamt about doing and suddenly got the opportunity to do. And then those, not only the experience of doing those sessions with the variety of artists that we did those with, but then the feedback to the releases of those. I mean, that's definitely one of them. The live sessions, just running around in this studio space, with a team, with cameras, with musicians of all levels. We had Justin Wells in here the other day, and like that was a bucket list one for me, and just that experience from beginning to end with the release and the feedback from listeners and viewers now has been amazing. And then I think the other thing was really, I've been doing this show since 2012, and a hero of mine is Mark Maron, WTF Pod, who, sunset his show this year. He's done. It's the last one has aired. And it was almost simultaneous with him sunsetting his show that we had David Lowery on this show, which was mind-blowing for me as someone who at 14, 15 was listening to Cracker. And that being this kind of fun moment where we could now say, well, we have shared a guest with Mark Maron. David Lowery's been on WTF, and now he's been on our show. And so as Mark Maron was retiring, we got this guest of his on our show, and it was this sort of surreal moment of like, oh wow, like we've hit something, special. And then on top of all of that, because we're talking these massive productions, we're talking some massive national stars, international stars, but then going back always to the most important thing, which is the home base, this local music scene. And it really felt like this year was the year where this show became a part of the local music community. I became a part of the local music community. I mean, I've always felt that way and have been invited into spaces in special ways, but really, several times this year, I was out and about places and had people coming to me to talk about the show or recognizing me from the show, complimenting the show and thanking us for the work we're doing. And it just felt like something really clicked in there this year in that regard.
Right.
Yeah.
And, there's so much to unpack even just in that statement, but even earlier saying how people have reached out to you, both probably viewers, listeners, and artists.
Yeah.
And, we talked about kind of the door knock stage early on when we were dreaming all this up, just the collab, just talking about the collab and saying, hey, the studio's coming about. It didn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
But just talking about, hey, we could do things. And it's been yes. And when we bring the artists in and do these tapings, it's been yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that's, I think you fear running out of the yeses.
Yeah.
But we quite haven't found that yet. And maybe that's what gets rewarded.
Yeah.
Is just, let's take a trip to Nashville with an artist. And, we'd followed Abby Thomas and the band and Corey and his wife and, a couple super fans that were along with us, which is amazing that, the group gelled as it did there. But more on that later. But, what was a conversation you didn't see coming that ended up deeply meaningful?
Ooh. Wow. Okay. I think we started to recognize a bit of a theme in this season, in the year as we got into the later years. But as I became aware of that, kind of in the back of my mind, that started coming into the conversation even more deliberately. And so I remember when we sat in this room right here with Loon, and speaking of coming to us, that was Loon. Like Loon had been on the show before, but they came to us and said, hey, we'd like to do one of those lives. And we're like, yeah, 100%. We want to do one with you. And that conversation, we really got into so much of the importance of art and showing love to your fellow human and that sort of a thing. And I felt like that just was like this snowball effect that kept happening. I think we noticed it the first time after the Miles Nielsen live session.
Absolutely.
But then because we had noticed it, then as I'm talking to people having these conversations, whether it's a live session or a regular episode, I started just dripping that in there and it opened up even more. So, we talked about that with Loon. We talked about that, I think maybe even like, I don't know if Jagalchi, with Abby.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin, we had some great conversations with Justin about just the importance of community and arts. And that is like 2025 was almost one conversation about that very subject.
On and on.
Yep.
Every time.
And especially in like what's a dark moment. I remember, near the beginning of the year, February, sitting in my car coming home from Thundersnow, realizing I owed you an intro.
Yes, this is my favorite.
Pulling off, yeah. I mean, I pulled off to the side of the road, looking out over Lake Superior, thinking, "Oh man, I need to get a file to Paul," and I forgot all about it. I'm in the UP, and just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna riff an intro right here because I got to do it. And riffing that intro, and in that moment of not being prepared for it, diving into some of those themes kind of naturally, and like we're in this dark moment in our world in a lot of ways, and then the parallel of like the beauty of art and community and how that balances that out and how that answers to that. And that started all the way back in that February intro.
It still feels like yesterday.
It does.
There's no ripple and there's no wrinkle in time in this season.
Yeah. Which is wild because I've already signed up for Thundersnow for 2026. So I got my room's booked. So
I really am, having come off the road personally and settled down and now have kind of a routine. And I went away this weekend and did a show in Miami, and it upsets that routine. And I can't wait to get back to what do I owe Justin? What about our other people and creatives who are involved, and when's the next this? And even the Tuesdays have kept me grounded in this entire season of growth, because it is, you have to put something out.
Yeah.
And, we still push the boundaries, but there is a little bit of the muscles have been made.
Yeah.
Like we can throw this up and go, and it's not, it's not arduous anymore.
Yeah.
But in that, we've continued to try to stay true to the art and the musician. And, there is no directing it. It's just catching it, but also kind of poking the animal a little to see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
In that, like, when was the moment you were thinking, this is why I do this? And did it overcome you during an interview, or when you leave, or, we've had some high five moments here and there, but when was like, this is why I do this?
I think, when Jigalchi was in, and this was actually, I think, was that this year? Was Jigalchi even this year?
I don't remember. It might have been.
It all bleeds together so much. There were several moments, though, where I would have someone in the room for the first time that I was a genuine fan of. Just I loved their music so much. And to have them be in the room and having that conversation and, this is not a venture that is something I do for any other reason other than the love of it, the love of the music. That is the end all be all of it. And so in those moments where I'm sitting there with a musician, whether it's someone from down the street, or someone on tour like Miles or Justin Wells or whoever, all those things come from me being fans of those people first and foremost. And so it's in those moments when I'm sitting with them and having a real human conversation with them, but also it's this person. I think, and that's the moment where I'm like, this is why we do this. This is why so we can get to know these people and to share their art,
Sharing is huge.
Yeah.
We've had many artists say, Rebel comes to mind, Remex comes to mind, saying, we don't have enough time to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And really that's what it is like in our, fodder to flip culture, there's not enough time to stop and really get into the musician's message, because they do things. If you get a really true musician, they're writing what's on their mind. They're writing, what affects them. And sometimes it's hard to get beyond, the billboard to see what's behind that message.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a few times we're nervous before shows. I mean, like there is that little bit of show business that we have to do when we're having the people on and entertain them, and there's technical things, and we're lean and mean. There's 2 or 3 of us that do the bigger live shoots, and it's always like last minute pulled together, but we still get it, and they still have a good time, and it's easy to bringing them in here and be comfortable. But there's been times when the door shuts and we kind of drop our our wall and go, yes, we pulled this off.
Yeah.
And it is fun seeing you interview some of the heroes. That's been really special, is that sometimes, and you you apologize, but there's no reason to apologize for being like, this matters to me. This person I've wanted to get behind the mic, get in front of the camera because I really care.
Yeah.
Those are probably the best times for me, is to be able to deliver that platform to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And I hope that we become more efficient And we have had people show up to the scene that are going to apply their creative talents in the way that they care.
Yeah.
And hopefully that takes some weight off you and I, and we can, be in tune to the musicians more. I know I feel like we've missed some moments, just because we're doing other jobs in the season, but it keeps us coming to the court. We keep shooting the free throws.
For sure. Yeah.
How has your approach to storytelling changed this season? Both in the show, and I know you do, side projects, and there's other things that you deliver on here and there. But how's it changed your storytelling?
It's interesting because I years ago, about the same timeline as this show, 2012 or so, stumbled into a career as a freelance writer. I've always loved writing since I was a child. Always kind of dreamt about being a writer, but I never went to school or got any formal education. I'm a college dropout essentially. Me
too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. But somehow, back in the early 2010s, I launched this website, Anywhere the Needle Drops, and tried out the podcast thing and started writing about music or blogging about music, as we said back in the day. And I remember talking to the people at the local newspaper, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you to start writing us a column." And I was like, I'm not a journalist, right? Like, I like anyone can make a website, and they go, "Yeah, but you're good." And I was like, oh, "Okay,
well, thank you."
Yeah, so thank you. But so like I have this natural talent for writing and storytelling that I'm almost afraid to examine sometimes because it's worked without training or without examination in a lot of ways, but then also wanting to continue to elevate what I do and not grow stale and not ask the same questions over and over again. And so I have, again, Mark Maron being one, I've studied other interviewers and kind of what they do, spent a lot of time listening to other people do interviews and, try to absorb some of those things. And then really looking back on conversations we've had on this show and seeing where the guests have taken us and what doors those opened up, and then now putting those in my mind as doors that I open up, which then lead them to more doors.
Yes.
And it's kind of this, so you've seen the yellow legal pad. And essentially I have this process I do before any interview where I jot some general ideas of where I want the conversation to go. And people that listen to the show regularly will certainly recognize some of the touch points that I hit on every time, or especially with the new guest. But if you look at my notepad, it's like a word or a scribble or some kind of like a quick shorthand for something that just I can glance at the notepad and like have a new branch to the conversation. And that's the way I think I've ended this year, realizing it's this process where I just put these little like pinpoints on the yellow legal pad, and then I glance at it and I look for branches, either if the conversation is stalling, a brand new branch, or branches that might relate to something that's being said, or see what the person's saying, where that branch takes us. And so it's like having a plan, but then allowing the thing to just grow on its own and just kind of like steering it gently that way from there,
Which makes me think, when we zoom out, how is your like off-court life fed into that? Because you do a lot of varied activities, both in service and in service of yourself. And, if anybody follows your Instagram, you can see the places you get into and the things you do. How does all that play into the roundedness of how you approach the creative?
Well, I've gotten, I think, a lot braver this year.
Yes.
And I'm by default kind of a controlling person. I like to control my environment. I like to have a plan. I like to have things organized. Big fan of to-do lists and checklists and all that kind of a thing. And I've had to, because of lots of personal changes in my life and personal challenges in the past couple of years, learn to let a lot of that go and kind of ride the ride sometimes. Like still have a plan, but also just be ready to ride the ride. And, I do a lot of work in community service, and that's a space where things can change on a dime,
Yeah.
for one. And so I've had to learn to adjust, especially sort of falling into leadership roles in that work by being in it for so long. And then I found kind of coming out of the dark woods of, the divorce and some ends of friendship and whatnot, I found Dance Society.
Yes.
And, Sharon of Dance Society was a guest a couple of years ago, and that's kind of when things were just getting rolling with what she was doing. But it's turned into this magical space where I have learned to be comfortable stumbling.
Yeah.
And that has made me a lot braver in all aspects of my life. So I show up once a week at the dance studio to learn this choreography, and I'm never going to be a great dancer.
Doesn't matter.
But that's not the point.
Doesn't
the point
matter.
is that it's a safe space to go there and to try, and to fall and know you'll fall and be caught.
Yep.
And that has helped create this growth in me internally that I've then taken to the rest of my world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Dance Society and Sharon.
Absolutely. What did you notice about the local regional creative scene this year? And I mean, we talked about the theme of mental health, but beyond that, you've taken me to some events, the Friday dinner. We've gone to a lot of things, but overall, what have you noticed growth-wise over the year?
So I don't even know if it's growth or if it's just more discovery. It's the depth of stuff and of quality. Right. There's just so much there. I mean, I was at the last weekend before we're recording this. Jake Simmons, one of our friends of the show, was in town from Kalamazoo. Came down to South Bend to play a show. Went to catch him, and he was playing with two of our local acts, Pendle and Quid Pro Quo. And it was one of those moments where I knew the names, I guess. But I'd never seen them, heard them, anything like that. And so even as in deep as I am in the local music scene, I essentially discovered two great new bands that, discovered me, not for the scene. Like people already know about them. But somehow in all this work I do, I'm still finding stuff that's new to me. Yeah. And that just goes to show, I think this whole year, finding things where it's like, oh, there's still more to uncover. There's still more to share. And we talk about it all the time. There's no reason to go to, some big city somewhere to have a great creative, cultural, artistic lifestyle. It's all right here. Yeah. There's more stuff right here than you can ever possibly do. It's that good. That good.
I would venture to say that it's less structured than the big cities. Like you can have participation in an event different than what, a ticketed with the fees. In and out, they're there to sell you alcohol. Yeah. Back to when Dance Society was at Fringe Fest. And one of the performers was playing like a hurdy-gurdy. Yeah. And at one point during the show, they looked out at me and locked eyes, and I just believe that's just part of the show. Like they probably find some, like whoever they always look there, and I happen to be the spot. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the whole show changed from me being an observer to a participant, which, having been behind the scenes for many, many years, was very intimidating. Yeah. And yet, like yourself, kind of broke a wall at that point. Yeah. Like, no, you are part of this. Yeah. And again, another very regular guest and feature, not just because of what she does, but the fact that she involves a lot of people who are also part of other things. But Abby Thomas taking us to Nashville and inviting this whole mob of people to go down. But even there, as we're hearing nominations read off, there was someone from Mishawaka that none of us knew. Yes. And our whole corner of the place lost. We're like, yes. Yeah. But yeah, again, like you just don't know what's stumbling in. And I think there are the people who are the roots of what's happening and have been a long time, and they love what they do, and you can tell that they love what they do, and they build it because they see people coming together and these third spaces that are open to many, 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 many ideas. Thinking of Lang Lab and the photography and the movies and even the bar is creative. Yeah, what they're providing, and the people there care a lot. But even when you get to all these places, there's still someone passing through that stays. Yeah, didn't know about. Yeah. That was such a wild moment. I mean, to be in that giant awards,
studio with ceremony with. We're there with 4 acts from the area, thinking like this is the representation of Michiana, and then they announced some dude over there that I was like, do you know him? Do you
none of us?
And I think maybe Abby like heard his name before or something, but other than that, we were all like, we didn't even. There was another one of us here. We didn't even know. Like that's how rich this culture is right here.
And there was still probably 4 or 5 other Michigan names. Some Grand Rapids, a couple of Detroit areas, but Michigan was represented.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
If you think back, is there a piece of advice or nugget that one of the artists said and you tucked away like, that's going to change me, or I need to use that in my toolbox?
Oh, man. I think someone I always look to for I guess to give me a little courage or a little when I need a little pick me up. Nat south of Loon.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. So we used to do the 12 Days of Red Chuck around the holidays, which was something that originated out of COVID as kind of a way to make up for some local services that were lost during COVID times, to kind of do that to support local businesses and art. And one of the years we did that, he submitted one of the videos for us, and I'll just never forget. He has this speech that he sometimes gives during shows, and he gave it during the video. And there was something about the delivery of that speech in the looking down the barrel of the camera for that 12 Days of Red Chuck that year that just made me feel. It was a general message to the world, but it made me, Justin, feel so loved and so strengthened to keep doing the thing and doing the fight. And, when we had Loon the band in the studio for the live session, I think that's something that South carries in any space.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the live shows are so compelling. I think that's why when that live session video comes out, people are going to be blown away.
Yeah, that's crazy.
By like him staring down the lens of the camera in that moment too. Yeah. I mean, the audio is great, but it doesn't even do it justice when you see the video. There's something that South carries with them that just is so inspiring and fulfilling, and you feel cared about.
Yeah.
And that's whether South personally, or you're just a listener / viewer.
He pulls you in. There's no getting away from it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think sitting here with South, talking to him about all of that stuff, I think that was probably that moment for me. Yeah.
And it's really tough. I'll give you props that, I've just thrown you in front of the camera. Honestly, it was like, here's the deep end, Justin. Bam. And
reminder, I was an AV kid growing up. I was behind the scenes at the auditorium, not on the stage. So yeah.
But I'd say there's in some ways there's a job to do.
Yeah.
And you've recognized it. You've seen how your talents apply to it. I mean, personally, same thing. Once you kind of led the way, it was like, oh, here's how I can help. Our assistant Jordan at the studio, he's all about. He says it. I want to just give people the opportunity to raise up. Whether that's making them sound better or, he's into glitch video and he's been doing tons of stuff with Action Adam and just dove in. But, props to both of them. I mean, they just show up all the time and want to raise the level of the people who are doing this. And, it makes me think that, like, does that help you to get in front of the camera knowing that there's people behind you who are supporting you and not pulling you down, but there to say, no, this is important. We're all here because this matters, even if we are or aren't getting paid, because we're still in the development stage of all this. But like, how hard is it to sit in front of the camera and ask someone like South these questions?
It feels natural now,
right?
But I was someone that always framed themselves as a shy person, and I'll never forget. It was for whatever reason when we used to have the Brass Eye here in Niles. I don't even remember what drove me to try this, but I remember talking to the owner, Brian, about wanting to do this thing that I called Wednesday Night Music Club, and it was sort of leading like a music discussion kind of thing. And that spun off into a bunch of other events that to this day that I'm still doing event hosting because of all of that. Like, I will be leaving here to go host another event tonight because of all that.
And we love that energy that you're always running to and from.
Yeah,
I get you focused because you're like, nope, gotta go.
Boom, boom, boom. But like, so But if you had told me growing up that I was going to find myself in front of an audience on a microphone, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way. But I remember the moment where I was on a mic in front of a crowd and realizing how good and natural that felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so now it's, honestly, it's not that difficult. It does feel natural because it feels like I am here my job is to help tell these stories of these people.
Right.
And so to sit here and have a conversation with someone, whether it's a difficult conversation, we got into some deep stuff with South, or, just a more casual conversation about art, any of that stuff, it just feels right.
Right.
It just feels like this is what we're supposed to be doing.
You're creating a safe space for words to be said.
Yeah.
That, artists do in this day and age. It's tough. It's tough to put yourself out there. And if they can feel like you're taking care of them, we've seen a lot of people open up.
Yeah. Well, in that's the thing. Like, that is the number one thing I do. And sometimes, especially when it comes to the bigger name acts, sometimes I will get from either them or their managers or whoever I'm communicating with, they might want some questions or something like that. And I'm like, hey, listen, that's not really what we do. Like, I can give you an overview, but it's very conversational and natural. There's no list of questions I can send anybody.
Nope.
Where the goal is to sit down and make everyone feel comfortable and heard and see where that takes us.
Totally.
And there's no list of questions I can give to anybody before an interview about that. It's just not how it works.
So 2025, Justin.
Yeah.
Growth, changes, massive changes. All of us. But to see one person's life change and compare it to yourself and see how it isn't scary. Like, we've grown together. We've seen other people grow together around us. But if you could whisper one piece of advice from 2025 Justin to, let's say, blank slate January 1st, 2026, what would you tell, like, you're leaving the office, you're leaving a note for new Justin. What would you leave behind?
I think it's the same thing over and over again. It's don't quit.
Yeah.
That's kind of almost a mantra amongst the Thundersnow, the PRF crew. And it really, unfortunately, has a lot to do with struggles with mental health and people we've lost to, taking their own life by suicide. Yeah. But that theme of don't quit, keep going, keep trying, because I can attest, I put this in the last Red Chuck newsletter of the year. I was in a very dark place at the beginning of this year, the last couple of years. In so many ways, my entire world fell to pieces. And I had moments where I didn't know how I was going to make it. Yep. And to be where I am now in all the ways, creatively, personally, to know where I am and to know the despair I felt in those moments, things get dark, but they get light again. And I think that's advice for me and for everyone else out there. It's like, don't quit, keep on going, because it will get brighter again. Yeah. It will,
In that theme, I know this year we checked off quite a few Justin dream guests, but who's on the list now?
Oh, man. Okay.
Besides having him come back. And
and this one would be a comeback, but it's been a while since Roger Klein has been on. I would love to get them back on, particularly in a studio session. Right.
You feel like you have a better stage to put them on now.
100%. Yeah. And Roger's been on the show twice, but I just think there's been so much growth in my world. And then, of course, their career has changed. That whole band has changed so much and grown so much in the years since. I think they're due for another show. And they've been my favorite band since I was, going on 30 years. They've been my favorite band. So it's been a treat to have them on the show before, and to have them on again would be excellent. And beyond that, you and I have a wish list.
We do,
and I hesitate to throw any names out there because I don't want to jinx it and say the surprises. But I will say one of the ultimate ones I would really love to have, and I don't know if I've ever told this story on the air before, but
exclusive.
The show is called Anywhere the Needle Drops.
Yes,
that name comes from an interview on NPR with Natalie Merchant. Who obviously had a very successful solo career, was also the lead singer of the 10,000 Maniacs for a bit. She was on NPR promoting one of her albums, and mentioned kind of this idea of how she wanted this specific sound or tone or feel throughout the entirety of the album.
Right.
And so as she's describing this, she said something along the lines of, wherever you drop the needle, you get this feeling, da-da-da-da-da. And I was listening to that interview, and I thought, that's it. That's the name of my show.
Yep.
And so Anywhere the Needle Drops comes from that. And being a fan of hers, being a fan of 10,000 Maniacs, and having that story for this show that's now been on since 2012,
Wow.
it would be very cool to sit down and not only interview her just in general, but to tell that story to her. You know, 10,000 Maniacs were on, which she has not been a part of that band for several years. They've you know, split paths long ago doing their own thing, but it feels like she's a bit closer to reality because of some of the guests we had on this year,
Right.
you know? So, yeah.
To bring it back home, because you did tell me the name of the podcast many years ago, the day we met, and it starred. It like, I lit up because I was like, this is a brilliant name. And I think at the time you were on hiatus, you'd stopped. You're like, maybe I'll get back together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to see how many things have stacked up that were, you know, dreams and now are realities.
Yeah.
Which then helps the ask.
Yeah.
And I will say, the arc of artists this year really was a great arc. You know, starting off and then ending with Miles Nielsen. It just, I can't. You hate to even test where it's going to go.
Yeah.
You really don't. So to bring it back to the humbleness, like, where do you see the creativity ecosystem in Niles now, where we're at? Because we bring in energy from the surrounding areas, the bands that come by, but when we zoom into what's happening here and the bare bones, what do you see as the pinpoint of the creativity, what's happening? In Niles specifically.
Oh man, I mean, there's so much happening right here in downtown with, you know, just kind of the expansion of, we've had so many kind of the old world of sort of these businesses that were either hobbyists or just people that weren't maybe dedicated in the way, like,
Right.
And what has shifted down here has been like a true entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
And so you've seen that kind of in more of an economic side of like these businesses that have shown up, whether it's retail or restaurants or whatever, and the success you're seeing in that. But you also see that same thing creatively.
Yeah.
And that all kind of merges together in this thing where we do, we now have various spaces in Niles with more to come, where we can foster and, emphasize creativity. And I remember, you know, we just had Small Business Saturday, which is an event that's kind of been my baby for a long time. And I simultaneously had to let it go this year a little bit and let someone else kind of handle the bulk of the work just because of my schedule being so crazy. And we had someone available that was willing to take that on.
Yeah.
And then while that was happening, also seeing what we had built over the years and what this person did with it. And I remember that day walking around. I started my day at the comedy club up the hill, watching Abby Thomas and, you know, two of the Crazy Hearts, Simon and Isaac, playing a show. That's how I started my morning.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting there watching them play, and who roams in to watch the end of their set? Jesus and Rem X, because they had just finished their own set down the road.
Yep.
And then, you know, I do all that.
And listen, there's a lot for an artist to trust coming somewhere.
Yeah.
They're paying gas. The goodwill of their band.
Yeah.
You know, I take it as a very high responsibility that when a band comes to us and has given their time, that we give them our best.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And that's just kind of been, you know, that's the respect that you give and you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And throughout that day, I remember wandering over to the coffee shop and there was an artist in there, Cassandra French, painting.
Yeah.
And that started because I was out at the Node. One of my volunteer duties is I empty trash a couple days a week down there for the Node. And she had been down there sitting with, I think, her daughter, maybe, and just like looked over to me and said, "Hey, thanks for doing what you're doing," having no idea who I was, and I having no idea who she was. We ended up starting up a conversation, and I was telling her about where that space came from, what I do in the community.
Yeah.
She started talking about being an artist. And then next thing you know, like she's down here live painting in front of people as a part of this day that's showcasing not only our local businesses, but our local art and culture.
Absolutely.
And she's there as a part of it doing her thing. It was so cool to just wander town, seeing Hank Nelson playing in the window and, you know, all those things.
Staple.
Yeah.
it's the responsibility starts to feel as we draw more attention to what's going on, and there's more things happening, and new faces show up. I mean, Second and Main on the corner has brought so many new faces to the area over, the period of the day. Weekends have been crazy over there. You can barely, get through.
Yeah.
But, then it turns around to how do we protect all this? Mm-hmm. Because as we know, when things get discovered, then some other intentions show up and the crowd changes. But I think there's a lot of things built into the foundation because of that.
Yeah.
A longer time of investment when it wasn't anything and it was very lonely at the top, at the leadership position, to pull things in. But what excites you next? Like, what are you looking at for summer of next year that really is like, I can't wait to work on this project?
You and I are working on a lot of things that, will involve hopefully helping foster the live music scene. And so I'm really excited about being a part of that. I've also got, other people that are doing their own work fostering the live music scene that have, asked for, my help or connection or whatever, just those little things. And so being a part of helping do that, helping give us this continued rich live music scene and filling in the gaps. I think that's what I'm excited about. We have so much talent right now in the area. Right. We have some cool venues, but there's certainly space for more.
Tons of room to growth.
Yep. And so I think what I look forward to is just having, more of those places to go and being a part of making those places happen. Yeah. And then, honestly, just spending the summer wandering around as a fan, enjoying
that's what it
things.
Is. When we can just go in and have a drink like we do when we go over to Goshen and South Bend.
Yeah.
And be like, this happened. We were part of it, but we were part of it.
Yeah.
But when it gets its own wings and feet,
yeah,
that's going to be exciting.
Well, and even there are several annual festivals now that occur in this area that support music and art.
Yeah.
And I remember for years being, people bringing them up and being like, oh, I've always meant to go to that, haven't gotten to it. Always meant to go to that, haven't gotten to it. And so this year was the year where I was like, I'm going to make sure I go to that thing finally. Yeah. And I got a lot of them. I didn't get all of them. So next year, I'm going to get all of them. Yeah. And then hopefully there'll be new ones that pop up. So then even if I don't make them all, I'll have to keep on adding to the list, So
tons of room.
Yeah.
Hey, who do you want to shout out? Who do you got thanks for this year that helped spur on this show?
Ooh. Wow. I mean, okay, so this will be a little bit corny, but I got to thank my parents first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Not just for being great parents and, encouraging me. I know I was not the easiest person to have to raise because I had no path in life. I was just figuring it out. And I almost can remember the moment that my mom especially was just sort of like, all right, he's just going to do his thing and he's going to be fine. Yeah. Like there's like a moment of acceptance. This show started in my parents' basement.
Amazing.
Mom and Dave, Hero Jr., some guys I grew up with, throwing a bunch of Radio Shack microphones around on the bar my parents had built in their basements and having a show. And that's where this all started. So, certainly to them for all they did in supporting all the stuff that I've done. And then, you and I, first of all, I got to shout out to you and Courtney because this next season, or this current season that we're in, all of this started. You mentioned that I was on a hiatus when you and I first started talking, and part of what inspired me to bring this show back was those conversations you and I were having up in the warehouse, building those tables for the Node during COVID. Just trying to figure out ways to make things happen in that
little
crazy time. And that's what inspired me to be like, you know what? It's time to bring the show back. It's time to do these things. Yeah. And now here we are. You're doing sound on the show and we're doing all these other projects together and it's growing and growing and growing. And I'm so grateful to that.
Oh, thank you.
It's, and then just the scene, just the local music scene, all the artists out there doing cool things, whether you're a musician, an artist of some kind, or just some kind of an entrepreneur. Maybe you don't think of yourself as an artist, but you are a creative driving spirit, fuel for what we do here. And so all of those people, together we make this thing happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
In finality, what's the one song this year that would sum up 2025?
Ooh, wow. One song. That is Oh. So, okay. The thing is, it's going to be, I think, the same answer as last year. If only because of the way things started. It was still a little dark at the beginning of this year. It really was. And it's funny, I was just talking about this with friends 30 minutes before we sat down to do this. Because it turns out the band The Mountain Goats are going to be coming to Kalamazoo, the Bells, next year.
Wow.
And so it was a discussion amongst some local fellow music nerds of, are we going to go to this show? And so that led to this discussion of me talking about the song This Year, which, if you're not familiar with it, is sort of, it has its own tale, but it's also sort of this defiant mantra of, the line is, I'm going to make it through this year if it kills me. And even though the actual story of the song is about, I think being a teenager and kind of a very specific set of circumstances, so many of the fans of the Mountain Goats have taken that song as this rallying cry to get through whatever difficulty they're in. Yeah. And, coming into the beginning of this year, that was on my mind constantly of like, I'm going to make it through this year. Like last year was so hard. I'm going into this new year and I'm going to make it through this year if it kills me. And here we are at the end of it and things are so much better and great. And that's it this year. Yeah.
Oh, here's to 2025.
Yeah.
And all that we did, we can't remember half of it. Unless we go back through the files. Here's to 2026.
Yeah.
All the mountains we have left to climb that, will be laid out as we go.
Yeah.
But I think job well done. That's honestly, like, this was a very exciting year. And I hope people one day when there's more eyes will dive back and catch all the back stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes me rest easy, is knowing that even if the, listen count isn't what we think, who knows what it should be.
Yeah.
But, even if a lot of people haven't discovered this yet, it's an archive.
Yeah.
It's a telling of a story over a very long time. And that discipline takes a lot of grace to do and a lot of courage. So
let's do this thing. 2026 is coming.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops from Red Chuck Productions. Keep up on new episodes of this show, our live events and various creations and other happenings over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us on social media at Red Chuck Productions. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out over at herojuniormusic.com. That is Hero, Hero, Junior, JR, music.com. A big shout out to Paul Clemson and Theory One Productions for handling sound duties and so much more. Check out their magic over at theory1productions.com. And a big thank you to Earthworks Audio for outfitting the Red Chuck studio. See their microphones and their other products over at earthworksaudio.com. Be sure to support all of our guests by visiting their websites, social media, clicking that subscribe button, seeing them live, and checking out their merch stores. Give musicians and artists your money. We'll be back with the next episode. Until then, thank you for your time. Here's to life.